As Israel's war on Gaza spreads beyond Palestinian borders, the Qatari capital Doha became the target of a deadly airstrike by the Israeli occupation army. The attack killed Hamas members and a Qatari officer, striking a site where Hamas leaders were discussing a U.S. ceasefire proposal. Arab and Islamic leaders are now gathering in Doha for an emergency summit, vowing solidarity with Qatar and denouncing what they called Israeli state terrorism. How will this summit lead to concrete measures against Israel? And how can Arab and Islamic unity curb the occupation army's aggression? I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Welcome to In Depth. According to Al-Sharq Al-Awsat, Qatar announced that it will host a summit of Arab and Muslim leaders to condemn Israel's recent airstrike in Doha that killed Hamas officials and a Qatari security officer. Scheduled for tomorrow, the summit aims to demonstrate solidarity with Qatar and denounce what officials called Israel's cowardly aggression and state terrorism. A draft resolution will be prepared during today's ministerial preparatory meeting. The summit, supported by the Arab League, will also address the broader implications of the attack, aiming to prevent further regional escalation and endorse an Egyptian-Saudi initiative calling for an end to Israel's occupation of Arab territories. And for more analysis, we're joined from Cairo by Mr. Ihab Omar, journalist and political researcher, and also Dr. Muhammad Osman, international relations specialist. Welcome to Q News. Now, Mr. Omar, today's preparatory meeting by Arab and Islamic foreign ministers is setting the tone for the summit. What are your expectations for the level of unity that will emerge from these deliberations?
Welcome to you. I expect that there will be a high expectations in such a summit, and this is for solidarity with Qatar. And some think that this summit will lead to a military action or Arab Islamic leaders. All of these expectations are not taken in such a quick decision and in such this time where there are turmoils and wars. This summit that will be held tomorrow will answer the attack of Israel on it, and it will not have outcomes that people has great expectations about that, but it will be a solidarity with Qatar and prevention of this aggression of Israel and to prevent repetition of it. But regarding an Arab and Islamic unity, I don't expect so. Specifically, that some Arab leaders, it's not easy to unite in such a quick way. Later days, we talk about Israeli attack on Doha, and finally it will be a protocol signal summit.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Osman, now the emergency summit in Doha follows the preparatory foreign ministers meeting. From your own perspective, what are the key outcomes that the world will be watching for?
Thank you for having me, Hara. Greetings to you, your audience, and your dear guest. Well, it seems that we are approaching a historical Arab summit that comes in very unorthodox and exceptional circumstances. For the first time, Israel targets a country in the Gulf. It targets a third country, a country that it is not in a state of war or open hostilities in, a country it maintains political and economic relations with, and more importantly, it's a country that plays a pivotal role in the mediation alongside Egypt between Israel and the Palestinian factions. So, of course, stands before us is an unprecedented violation of Arab sovereignty, a challenge to Arab collective security, and therefore this summit comes at a very exceptional time and exceptional outcomes are to be expected from this summit. Whether the Arab summit will deliver or not, of course, is something else. However, there are reports that several Arab countries and Arab and Islamic countries, because this is an Arab Islamic summit, meaning that it's of both the member states of the League of Arab States and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So it seems that the heads of states of these nations, some ideas are floating and are being leaked to the media. We do not know the degree of the credibility of this information, or at least how many Arab countries actually agree to this proposal. We have seen the proposal of Egypt's previous proposal of an Arab joint defense force, re-emerging once again all of a sudden, even though Egypt did not make any official statements. However, there are reports that this might be reconsidered again by this summit. We have seen Iraq saying that there has to be some sort of defense pact between Arab and Islamic countries to deter further Israeli aggression. There has been also talks about a collective decision to cut relations with Israel, whether economic or political, by all the Arab and Islamic countries that maintain some form of official relationship or economic relationship with Israel. And by the way, that's most Arab and Islamic countries, by the way, because not many people know that. However, these are all ideas that are very abstract. We have not seen any concrete steps or a detailed plan of action yet materialize that will be discussed. Of course, today, the preparatory summit or the preparatory meeting between the ministers of foreign affairs of the countries that the heads of states, the countries of the heads of states who will be convening in tomorrow's summit, they are supposed to come up with a draft resolution. So this resolution will either be one of two things. It will either be a resolution where historic decisions will be taken by the Arab Islamic Summit, where actual steps will be taken that are coordinated between the member states in order to obtain the maximum effect and efficiency from them. That is, of course, maximum pressure on Israel and even the United States. And of course, the Arab and Muslim world, the Arab and Muslim countries, this is a bloc of 57 countries. And together, they are a very strong, considerable force that can apply collective pressure with the variety of assets each country has. And of course, in case of the integration of all of these assets, then we have a very strong striking force that can be, I wouldn't say an equivalent, but will be a substantial counterbalance to the U.S.-Israeli bloc. This is one scenario that we have, and it's very optimistic, and I hope this happens. Okay. On the other hand, this could be just another Arab summit where no consensus is reached, and it will only end with a very
condemnations.
Very long resolution condemning Israel and bashing it to the moon and back, and saying how horrible and terrible Israel is, and maybe promising some loose measures that should be taken without being implemented. Because let's not forget, Hala, the previous Arab Islamic Summit in Riyadh, it had measures that were supposed to be adopted, including supporting Egypt in its efforts economically to face the repercussions of the Gaza war. This never materialized.
Yes.
This never happened.
Because there was no real mechanism for the implementation of such resolutions.
Exactly. So that's why I maintain my very cautious optimism and my usual cautious skepticism as well.
Okay. Mr. Omar, now drafts of the resolution will be discussed during the preparatory meeting. What elements do you expect will be highlighted?
I think that there will be prevention of the aggression that occurred and that there will be stress on that this aggression is against the international law and to violate sovereignty countries is unaccepted. It's unaccepted that this action may be repeated again. There will be call for international probe in the reasons of such aggression, Israeli aggression, and also there will be refusal of the Israeli strategies on Gaza, Syria, and Lebanon, and there will be refusal of the displacement. This point will be deeply discussed in the summit that will be held in Doha. And I think there will be full support of the Qatari sovereignty and its measures regarding its stopping the aggression that occurred on it, and the refusal of the accusations that Israeli said on a Qatari country. But in the end, there will not be some or any measures in Qatar or military action in America or the Qatari military place. All of that will not be a deep talk in it. There will not be a talk about any military regulations. There will be announcement of some military actions that will be taken. This will not be announced. There will be talk about the security arrangements. There will not be another arrangements regarding the Turkish or American base.
Dr. Osman, now Israel's strike undermined U.S. ceasefire proposal under the review in Doha. Do you think that the final statement will address Washington's role in trying to reach a ceasefire in Gaza? And also, of course, blessing the attack on Doha.
Yeah, I think because, of course, you know that the United States never officially announced that it greenlit the attack on Doha, even though they said, oh, we knew.
But the Israeli media said that.
Of course, yes, but we all know that. It's common sense, you know. Israel would never dare undertake such an undertaking without a U.S. green light. This is a U.S. ally. This is the country that hosts the largest overseas U.S. airbase.
I mean, it was officially announced by the Israeli media.
Yes, the Israeli media claims so, but the U.S. official stance is we knew about it on a very short notice and we warned the Qataris and that we are not happy about it. Yet it does not seem that they are really even making an effort to make themselves seem genuine. If you have seen Marco Rubio's statements yesterday, he said that word for word. He said this was unfortunate. We have to move past it. What happened has happened, and this will not affect our relationship with Israel. This is an affront to Qatar, basically. However, Qatar, of course, does have a very strategic relationship with the United States, and they are not willing to forfeit that relationship under any circumstances. And it seems that the United States is now attempting to placate Qatar by expediting the discussions and the negotiations on the defense pact between Qatar and the United States, which all the Gulf countries have been vying for, basically, because this defense pact will give them a status that is equivalent to NATO member states, meaning that the United States will be obliged to defend them if they are ever attacked by any country, of course, except Israel, because if Israel attacks the United States, I do doubt that the US will do anything. Yes. So unfortunately, so this is the situation. I don't think that Qatar will be eager to turn this Arab summit to a platform through which the U.S. would be criticized or bashed excessively. I think that the focus will be on condemning Israel. And maybe taking measures against Israel. And I think that is logical. This is logical common sense. And of course, as for the negotiations, they have been torpedoed by this Israeli strike on Qatar. Basically, this was the aim of the attack, by the way, in my opinion. The aim was not assassinate.
Yes,
basically.
The aim wasn't just to assassinate Hamas officials, but also to assassinate chances for a ceasefire.
Exactly.
Altogether.
the entire diplomatic process, because most of the Hamas prominent leadership have already been assassinated, and Khalil al-Hayya and Khaled Mash'al and others are not worth taking such a risk. But for Israel, what is worth taking such a risk is sabotaging all of the de-escalation efforts and the ceasefire negotiations efforts. And the U.S. did present a very appealing initiative, and Hamas was ready to accept this initiative. And when they were convening to issue their positive response, they were bombed. This is how farcical it has become, Hala. So it's either one of two things: either the United States, Israel has went out of control, and the United States is completely unable to control Israel, and I don't think that's the case. Or the U.S. is complicit with Israel, and that this is all for show. This is all to make it as if Israel and the United States are committed to diplomacy and finding a political solution or a political exit out of this crisis, while on the ground they obstruct all of the diplomatic initiatives, and they engage in further warfare and creating certain reality on the ground that will make the displacement of the Palestinians and the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians from Gaza inevitable. And I think this is where the Israelis, what the Israelis are moving towards with American support and blessing. We are seeing now the carnage that is taking place in Gaza City. The ground offensive is imminent. The airstrikes have destroyed major parts of the city. Hundreds of people have died. Over about 300,000 people have been displaced already from inside the city. So Israel's sinister plan for continuing the genocidal war has been set in motion and is being implemented on the ground. And all of this noise about negotiations and about mediation and about the idea of a ceasefire and an exchange deal is all noise made by the Israelis and the Americans in order to deflect from what's happening on the ground. While on the other hand, Egypt and Qatar are taking this mediation very seriously, and they are trying very, very arduously to reach a ceasefire. Hence, let's create a crisis between Israel and the mediators. Already the relationship between Egypt and Israel have deteriorated to their worst condition since the 1979 peace treaty. And now with Qatar, of course, there is a rupture of relations between Israel and Qatar because Israel just bombed Qatar, So I think this was the true aim of this operation, Hala.
Yes. Mr. Omar, now, why do you think that the outcomes of the emergency Arab Islamic summit will be? How would it be? What should we expect out of this summit, realistically?
I think that the summit, its aim will be to solidate with Qatar regarding the aggression that it faced, and there will be many Arab and Islamic leaders there. This summit will be a large one regarding the ministers and leaders, but the outcomes, I don't think that these outcomes will be a different that the ones of the other summits, especially the summit that held in Baghdad and Egypt, that refuses the measures and displacement of Israeli occupation and the call for ceasefire and to reshape and support the Egyptian mediator to ceasefire and to call the U.S. to play its vital role and the EU and the international society to pursue for ceasefire in Gaza Strip. This is my vision of what will occur in Al Doha tomorrow. So this summit will not end, or the outcome will be a NATO, because it's a very difficult time, and these ideas should be viewed before the war, not after, not during it.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Osman, with the wide international denouncement and condemnation of the attack, do you think that the summit could trigger action from the international community, not to mention, of course, Arab or Islamic countries, but the international community, to respond to Israel's crimes?
This is what we hope for, because I think that the international community is already moving, thanks to Arab pressure, to be very honest, like the Europe and the world moving forward with the conference of the state solution, the upcoming one, on the margins of the UN General Assembly Summit this September. This, of course, are the fruits of the Arab efforts, especially efforts by Saudi Arabia, by Egypt, in cooperation with France. So there are international efforts and scrambling, basically, by by several prominent Arab actors in order to garner more international support for the Palestinians and mobilize international public opinion against the Israelis. I think that the summit will be another proponent of such efforts. And these efforts are very important, and they do signal a certain shift in the global perception of Israel, which is now becoming a quasi rogue state of some sorts. However, at the same time, as we have said before, Hala, and I'm so sorry I'm repeating myself over and over, but this is the truth. All of these pressures will not have the desired effect unless there is a significant change in the stance of the United States. And of course, this cannot be achieved without applying pressure on the United States itself.
Yes.
And maybe a good start would be that several, especially Arab countries in the Gulf, should tell the United States now the world is changing and there are other options. So maybe our alliances will be reconsidered, our security relationships will be reviewed, we accommodating your interests in OPEC can be reconsidered. If such drastic measures are taken by the Gulf, Hala, maybe then we will find, like a new variable on the ground, even though I highly doubt this, because these are a very complex relationship, and it will be a huge risk taken by the Arab Gulf countries if this ever happens, of course. So I do understand what's at stake here, and countries do not commit suicide and do not gamble with their own interests or on their own destinies. And the Europeans, for their part, they have promised sanctions. This has not materialized. So maybe a demand or an urge by the Arab Summit, the Arab Islamic Summit, directed at the Europeans and the other prominent industrial countries to impose sanctions on Israel. Maybe this will be further pressure on the Europeans to take that route. Maybe.
Yes, maybe, perhaps. Mr. Omar, Egypt's Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati is attending the preparatory meeting. What role can Egypt play in shaping the summit's final statement and outcomes?
Egypt is the mediator, and its role is difficult because it is the only reality in the Middle East. All countries have regional problems call for Egypt's help. For example, Iran, when it had problems, the Iranian commissioner called Egypt to help with IAEA. Also for Turkey and Qatar, they were taking their own actions in the region, but they now call for Egypt's help. So Cairo is the mediator, and so the summit that will be held tomorrow in Doha, in reality, the presidency as the hosting country, Qatar, Egypt is the mediator of the Arab and Islamic efforts, especially when revealing that other countries try to play difficult roles, but they don't have the ability to do so. They cannot counter the Israeli attacks and the Israeli aggression in the countries. So Egypt is the main role, and in the summit, if the summit will end in a good results, that's because of the Egyptian presence there. Egypt counter the aggression, so we will see Egypt's refusal of the displacement of the Palestinian people from Gaza, and the refusal of the aggression in Qatar and the regional countries. and the Western ally with Israel, and a call for U.S. to play its role and its international role to stop these aggressions and to stop the genocide in Gaza Strip, and a call for ceasefire in Gaza Strip, and to begin applying the Egyptian initiative to prevent displacement of Palestinian people and to rebuild Gaza again, and to have international fund for Gaza Strip.
Dr. Osman, now Qatar called the attack state terrorism. Could this terminology be used to push for UN action or legal accountability against Israel?
Indeed. Qatar has already went to the Security Council and they did accuse Israel publicly of state terrorism. I expect that the Arab Islamic Summit tomorrow also will direct the same classification or the same description of Israel at the State of Israel tomorrow. And they are very deserving of this description. And of course, they do engage in not only state terrorism, but in much more heinous acts like warmongering, genocide,
crimes against humanity,
war crimes, you name it. Like we can bring the entire list.
All types of crimes, actually.
Yes, the entire list of things you can do as a state, and Israel will meet the entire checklist. Quite an accomplishment, something maybe unprecedented since Nazi Germany. So what they are doing right now is that, there is, of course, grounds for legal action against Israel, and legal action does exist. As you can see, already the International Criminal Court has moved upon the request of the State of Palestine, which is a member of the International Criminal Court, and did issue arrest warrants against Netanyahu and the former Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, on account of their war crimes in Gaza. And the International Court of Justice as well is investigating Israel's violation of the Convention for the Prevention and the Genocide Convention. So as you can see, Hala, there are legal moves on the ground and legal proceedings on the ground. However, all of these moves and measures are numbed by the U.S. Political cover provided for Israel. Israel is not only the U.S. is not only providing that Israel with de facto impunity and immunity. They are moving against some of these international institutions, imposing sanctions on the International Criminal Court, and of course the Security Council. The latest session, it issued a statement instead of a resolution, because a statement is not binding.
Yes.
Because the countries knew that if they go for a resolution, and this was the original plan, by the way, the U.S. will shoot it down with a veto immediately. So they did not want to go through the hassle, and they settled for a statement that does have symbolic value, but other than that, beyond that, it is completely worthless.
Yes,
to be honest. So unfortunately, the international system fails the test of Gaza due to Israel's and the United States' way of conduct, which is basically the wanton use of force and the complete disregard of common morals and international law.
Mr. Omar, the Israeli occupation army targeted Doha, killing Palestinian calibers and a Qatari guard. Do you think that this unprecedented attack, how could we interpret it on the sovereignty of an Arab Gulf state? How do you see it?
Unfortunately, this attack is a message to the Gulf state, not only to Qatar, that that Israel's vision on the international policy has not changed, and its need to lead the territory. This attack also is a message for all the Gulf states, and to say that they are, or the Israeli occupation is the leader of the territory. I hope in the summit held tomorrow that the Gulf states refuse such a message of Israel, and to say that the Arab Gulf is supporting Qatar, and he refuses to smash this. And I hope that the summit, a summit for the Gulf state, to refuse Israeli measures and Israeli aggression, the Abrahami peace with Israel, the countries that signed that, there should be a review of these agreements after the Israeli aggression on Qatar, because these reviews aimed for achieving peace.
Yes.
But Israel now
Yes.
is attacking Gulf states in the south of the Gulf.
I get your point, sir. I get your point, and I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Ihab Omar, journalist and political researcher. Thank you so much, and also Dr. Muhammad Osman, international relations specialist. Thank you for your insights. And this concludes today's episode of In Depth. I'm Hela Al-Hamalawi. Thank you so much for joining us.